this part out after we're done. All right, so thank you for joining me today on Unveiling Truth, where I'm doing a podcast series called Empower Her, and it's stories of resilience. And what's happening is I'm getting an opportunity to interview amazing women in the nation, because not all the women that I interview live in San Antonio, to share their stories and give us hope, encouragement, inspiration, and also teach us some lessons. So if you don't know anything about me, I am an educator at heart. So if you do not have your notebook at home, I advise that you go and grab it now while I'm introducing my special guest. So I have mine here because I'm going to be authentic to who I am. And if she says something that touches my soul, I am going to write it down. So who I have with me today is Lupita Gutierrez. She embodies resilience in every aspect of her life. Lupita is a Laredo native and now a proud San Antonian. She's a single mother of 4 and proud community leader and advocate, as well as the CEO of Elevations Fundraising and San Antonio's elite partner for entertainment, dining, and attractions. The #1 savings app in the nation. If you don't have one, she will give you that information at the end of this podcast. So welcome, Lupita. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you so much, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited when you told me that you were thinking about this. This is when you just told me you were thinking about doing this. I was like, yes, you need to do it. If anybody's going to do this, it should be you.
Thank you.
And I think you have a great platform, and I love it all. So I'm excited to be here.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to spend an hour together just kind of talking, learning from each other, helping the women who are watching. Okay. And so the first question I want to ask you is, tell us a little bit about you, your background. Who is Lupita?
Who is Lupita? That's funny. My therapist asked me that about 7 years ago when I finally started wanting to get into. They asked me, what do you like to do? I'm like, and it's important because when I did decide to finally do therapy, being Hispanic, it's not very, I don't know, it's a cultural thing, but it's not really, encouraged, or it doesn't, oh yeah, you have a problem, you need a mental health thing. There's none of that.
Correct.
So when I finally decided to go, they asked me these questions in the very beginning, and it's important because at the time I had forgotten who I was. I forgot who I was because I was so, every day, being a wife. At the time I was married, and being a mother, I didn't even know how to answer that. What do you like to do? Like, what's a hobby? She said. So it's interesting to know that we can never forget who we are.
Yeah.
Truly, and what we love. And don't let the hustle and bustle of every day, get in your mind and you veer from that. So back to the question, who am I? So my name's Lupita Gutierrez. I was born in Dallas, Texas. I was raised in Laredo, Texas. I've been in San Antonio for about 7 years.
Okay.
Yes. I've been dancing since the age of 4.
I saw that.
Spanish dance is what I like, folklorico, but I've danced everything. So I started teaching at a very young age. So I started teaching dance at 17, full on teaching choreography, and big shows and competitions and stuff like that at a very young age. So I stopped kind of dancing myself and performing at that age and started teaching. Okay. And that's led me to a career in dance. So by trait, I love to teach dance. I love to teach my culture to the little ones. It's my favorite thing. So that's what I've kind of done, throughout my life, and just being a mom and also I was married for a long time, for 14 years. So that took up a lot of my space. And, between that time frame, I also did a lot of volunteer work. I'm not the kind of person that can sit in the corner. I'm always the one that's up front, like in class, the teacher says, who wants to sit in this empty table? I'm the one. So definitely always, volunteering and being involved, parent of the year, like stuff like that, and also teaching dance. So that's what I've done for the most of my life.
Okay.
But after the divorce, I had to rediscover myself, and it just became a totally different venture and journey. That's just amazing. What's happened in the past 6 years that I've been divorced, and rediscovering myself and my capabilities as a woman. Because I knew my capabilities as a wife and as a mother, but I didn't know my capabilities as a woman.
Right.
You know, so I'm proud of myself to see how, you know, things have evolved and how I've handled situations in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can talk more about that. I don't know, about the community work I do and how I got into all this.
Yeah, we'll talk about the community work in a little bit, but I think you hit something that I had also struggled with when I was married previously. And I want you to kind of linger there a little bit. Tell me like about who Lupita was when she was married to where you had to refigure out who you were once you got a divorce.
Interesting. Okay, so when I was married, you know, every day it's something. You know, you have to get food for the kids. You have all the activities. You have to make sure, you know, your husband's taken care of. You know, he's working at the time. Early on in our marriage, he said, you know what, I had always worked. So, you know, early on in our marriage, he says, why don't you stay home and take care of the kids? If I look back at that now, I probably should have said, you know, that's great and thank you, but I still want to have like a part-time job or do something, because a lot of women get lost. They like the idea of being home with their kids and raising them. No one's going to raise my children, and I'm not going to put them in daycare, and I'm not going to do all these things, you know, and they take pride in that, and I did. But at the same time that I look back now, I should have left time for myself, you know, because that was important. So I think that's one of the biggest changes in my life is that back then I didn't put myself first. I put everybody first. So Lupita, back then, you know, someone needed something, I'm right there. You know, anything, you know, kids, family, friends, anything. And I wasn't putting myself first. So if I look at myself back then to where I am now, you know, a lot was holding me back. So I felt a little bit like caged, if that makes sense, for like 14 years. It was a long time where I just felt, you know, caged and not really free to do what I could do. I was just going through the motions. I was trying to do everything right. But in doing so, I lost a lot of myself. So it's funny that you asked, because if I look at those years when I was married, I was Lupita, the mom, the wife, the friend, you know? So that was taken out of the equation. So now it's me, you know? So, I mean, I don't know if that helps or appeases your
it does answer my question. And the reason why I wanted to linger there for a little bit is because my story is similar. Married almost 15 years, 13, 15, something like that. I don't even remember now at this point. But I lost myself in that marriage. Like I lost who I was as a woman, who I was as a person, and I became the mom and the wife and what everybody needed me to be. And even to the point where, like you, once I got divorced and I had to go to therapy, my therapist would ask the same questions. Who is Stephanie? What is Stephanie like? And I'm like, I have no idea who she is. I have no idea what she likes. Like, I have no idea like what I'm doing, because my life was so wrapped up in that marriage and wrapped up in, like, my identity was wife and mom. It wasn't Stephanie, businesswoman. It wasn't Stephanie, you know, school founder. It wasn't Stephanie, like all of the things that I'm doing now. That wasn't her. Even though the work ethic was still the same, because my work ethic now, I've always had this work ethic, but I got lost in it. And I think what I want women to understand is that it's okay to be married. It's okay to love someone. It's okay to give your all to that person, but not to the point where you lose yourself. And your dreams and your desires. And I know I hear a lot, especially when I went to therapy prior to, we were doing couples counseling, and it was, okay, so what are you sacrificing in this relationship? And at the time, I always thought I had to sacrifice. So all those years, I sacrificed Stephanie and I sacrificed who I was to be in this relationship. But now, if a young woman who just newly got married would ask me, I would tell her, do not sacrifice. Like you don't sacrifice, but come to a compromise. And one that the both of you compromise. Don't sacrifice who you are, but compromise on all, like, okay, you don't want me to work full time, but I'm still going to work part time, because that's still what I need to be able to provide to you and be a good wife and a good mom. And so that's why I kind of wanted you to linger there, because I don't think we're the only ones that have dealt with that.
No, and I think that support also helps, you know. And it's funny because, if I think about when you talk about the word support, it's important, you know, back then, but now it's like we support ourselves, you know. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. For example, I've met your current husband, and I think he's amazing. I think you all are amazing, and he supports you 100%. I think he's probably your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, he is.
Right, from what I've seen, minus the pom-poms and the skirt. But you know, he's your biggest supporter, you know. And back then when we're young is when I feel like we need that support. Right now it's like, thank you, we love you for that, but we've learned how to be our own cheerleader, our own supporter. You know, but it's just a plus and it's a bonus when you have that. Back then when you're young, you need your partner to support you. That you really do. You know, I mean, unless you're at 19 or 20, you're a go-getter and you're amazing. And I met young girls like that. I don't need a man and I can do this, and that's great. You know, I recently walked into this young girl getting ready. She's 21 years old, and she was getting ready. She was hyping herself up, and she was, you know, oh, look, I look so good, you know. And she was in the mirror, and just wait till I get this little hair right here, you know. There you go. You know, like I was like, I wish I were like that at 19. I'm 44 and I'm still like, what do I cover up, you know? So I love that. So you will meet those unicorns, right? But still at 19 and 20, you're still at a tender age, and to not have that support from your partner, your husband, your fiance, whoever you've decided to share your life with, it's hard. It's hard. So I would probably tell that to them too. Be cautious of who you're with, you know, and who you get involved with, and make sure that you all are growing together. But definitely, yes, I don't recommend forgetting everything that you are. I graduated from a fine arts school. And that was one of the things that my therapist said was like, so what do you like to do? What did you like to do? Forget you had kids, forget you were married. What would you like to do? What did you like to do? I used to love to paint. I took sculpting, jewelry making, painting. I mean, 4 years of art and dance. So that's something I just love to do. I would lose myself for hours, talk about therapy and, you know, meditation, just get lost in your art. I like watercolor personally, but I can do any medium. And she said, well, then, you know, you can do that. And I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that right now, you know, but that's the point. That's where you have to change. You have to say, you know what, I don't have time right now. I have to make time right now, you know? So for things that you love, because it fills you up inside. You know, and it just makes the day a lot brighter.
Amen to that. Before I ask her the next question, I'm going to move our screen over so we can see your questions.
Oh, okay.
All right, now we can see if you put any questions in the chat. All right, so next question for you.
Okay.
What challenges or obstacles have you faced in your life, whether personally, professionally, or otherwise?
Oh, okay. So great question. I describe my life as a bad episode of Survivor. Okay, you know how Survivor, you have to survive to get off the island, be the last one standing, and you have to do like outrageous, obstacles and challenges and stuff, and you get maybe like a smoothie. These past 4 years, let me tell you, my life has been a bad episode of Survivor, because I will do pretty much anything for food to help feed my community. You know, so I do say that. So those are some of the obstacles. Let me see what challenges and obstacles. Let me see. Again, I'm gonna refer to the past 4 years of work that I've been doing. Okay. Because that's, I think, the most growth I've ever had. I'm 44. In the past 4 years, I've learned a lot. I think I've learned a lifetime of lessons through the work that I did. And I mean, I didn't know anything I was doing, Stephanie, 4 years ago. I reached out to so part of my testimony, let me tell you a little bit about it so you know what I was doing, was that, part of the testimony in a nutshell is that when COVID hit, it wasn't sitting well with me about the senior citizens being targeted. This was targeting them, and everybody was just going like, it was chaos because there was no rules set in place. There was no mask. There was no limits. There was no nothing. That prompted me to reach out to my community, my media community, which I had only been at that community for about a year. So I didn't know anybody. I was in a new city, decided to stay in San Antonio after the divorce, bought a little house, I'm from the border. So not that we don't trust people, but they call us border town tough for a reason.
Okay.
You have to be a little bit tough when you're on the border. And not that we don't trust people, we just don't, and we're not kind. It's just we're a little. You say hi, and I'm like, what do you want? What do you need? I don't want any. You know what I mean? And here in San Antonio, everybody would greet me with a smile. Hi, how you doing? All that stuff, right? But still, I was always a little bit reserved. So for me to go out and do a live video on my community page, nobody knew me. I didn't know anybody. It reached my heart to reach out to my community to help the seniors. And I said, if you need groceries, I can go. You don't need to risk yourself. That's how it all started. It was that one Facebook post that 4 years later has blown up to something so much bigger than me.
Oh, wow.
And involves not one city, but 2 cities and thousands of people and dozens of communities around San Antonio.
Wow.
All from that one Facebook post.
Well, they say it only takes one.
Yes. And it wasn't just it wasn't just me. I went from having a handful of volunteers to help me outside of my house doing makeshift distributions to having hundreds of volunteers.
Oh, wow.
And giving thousands of boxes of food. And I'm just setting from what I've been doing the past 4 years, because that opened the doors to a lot of other issues like food insecurities, poor veteran services. I mean, you name it. Once you get into the community and you meet the families and this, you find other issues. And it's hard to turn your blind eye when you're on someone's payroll and you work for the government or you work for the system or you work for the schools. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you find out a student's not eating and you take him food, that's you can get in trouble for that now, off hours, and stuff like that. I don't, because my time has never been on anybody's dime for the past 4 years. None of the projects I've worked on, none of the things I've done, I have never gotten one dime from anything that I've done. If anything, I was out time for my kids.
Yeah.
Working on a lot of projects. And that's important, because this almost broke me because of that. Because challenges that you faced, I faced those challenges. And that's why I resonate with your story and I resonate with the situation you're in, because I've seen the injustice. Somewhere along the line, I got upset. I got mad. And I said, this is not what people are telling us on the news. Correct. Our veterans are well taken care of.
Correct.
Our seniors have, so many resources to go. This is what we see on the news for someone that knows nothing about this world. So somewhere along the line, I got upset. I got mad. And what happens when you get angry and you get upset and you get mad? You explode. And I got mad and I got angry. And so I found my voice through that. And the thing is, once you find your voice, Stephanie, that's it. No one's ever going to cover your mouth again.
Oh, absolutely.
And then it gets to the point where they try, but you know what? Slap some sense into them and get your hand out of my face.
Correct.
And so sometimes I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I've always been a little outspoken, and I say that's why when you use the censor thing, I started laughing, because that's one thing Lupita's not, is censored. I feel like that being an advocate and not getting paid gives you an upper hand. Because you can advocate without any fear of retaliation or any fear of, someone, you're getting fired or you're getting reprimanded, Ain't nobody paying me.
So I can do and say what I want to help these people, because you're not doing a great job at it.
Yes. So those are some of the question. What was the question? I think I veer off a lot.
Obstacles and challenges.
That's why when you told me an hour, I said, are you sure it's just an hour? Because I can go for 2. I'm kidding. Obstacle and challenges. So with all that being said, and a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges, and big ones, you're talking about laws that need to be changed. And politics. And I don't need to tell you about politics.
No, I didn't. No, you do not.
No. So politics. And you want to know something funny? A lot of these people that throw those cards, they don't even know. Like, They're not even politicians, you know what I mean? But it's self-politics within them, you know. Well, this is how we've done things.
Yeah.
You may have done things, but is it the right way?
Correct.
Have you read Robert's Rule Book of Orders? You know what I mean? Like,
no, you have not.
You have not. You know what I mean? So it's funny when I see stuff like that. Educate yourself too. So I would say some of the obstacles, again, city and state laws that we need to go advocate for and change. You know, a lot of, and early on, I will say one of the biggest challenges was my first distribution. We had 300 boxes of food. It was very early on in the pandemic, and we were in round 2 of the Farmers to Families project initiative. Sorry, I got 300 boxes of food, and 700 people showed up to the distribution. Okay, so right there, that was a challenge for me. I was so stressed out to have to turn so many people away. I mean, we were in tears. I wasn't the only one. We had volunteers crying. We just had never seen anything like it, but in the movies, you know. And I still think movies don't even do justice for the things that we saw. It was so heartbreaking, you know, when I have a 80-year-old woman walking with her little basket to my house at 7 o'clock at night because, you know, the sun already went down a little bit, asking for food. You know, I'm giving her stuff from my fridge, you know, like stuff like that. So the biggest challenge for that was, how are we going to get more food? How are we going to get it out to the people? Right. Well, that one of the biggest changes that I feel like I made in that progress, that we were able to help thousands of people, was that I really went to bat, and I went to argue about this food. I even got into it with some of the heads that were getting, you know, thousands and thousands of boxes of food, and I'm saying, you're holding them hostage. We're literally giving them out like this, and you all have them in a warehouse rotting. And I didn't understand that. It wasn't and it got a little heated, and it was the first time I had spoken to someone at that. I didn't care anymore. I just knew that there was food in there and we needed it, and that if they didn't do it, I was going to go and blow the whistle, and I was going to go to the news. And I said, because I know about this program. I called Ivanka Trump's office about the program. Like, nothing was stopping me, Stephanie. I need to get this food out. So yeah, I had a distribution that same week, and I got a call and said, hey, there's a truck waiting here, and it had 1,200 boxes of food. Wow. That's the moment that I found out that, you know what, you have to use your voice. You know, I had a whole apartment complex shut down because it was a senior living complex with over 150 residents, but they didn't have any air. And I found out about that through a volunteer. A volunteer called me crying, Lupita, you need to get over here. So I sneaked myself into the complex. Someone left the gate open. Should leave the gate open with Lupita around, right? When anybody's around. So I went walking around, talking to neighbors, and yeah, sure enough, none of this complex had central air. Didn't have window units. So yeah, you know, I saw that it was that's abuse at its highest. And 2 weeks later, they all got window units. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be rude. You don't have to, you know, yell. You don't have to raise your voice. You have to go with your purpose, and it needs to be clear. So when you talk about overcoming obstacles, these are the kind of things that I've overcome. Also with your situation, I've dealt with men that forget about their purpose, and they put their position in front of that. And they feel like they have the right to tell you, stand in line or go sit down, you know? And I'm like, no. I just left my kids for 8 hours to come and volunteer and give them my heart and do everything that I'm doing. I'm not going to sit down. As a matter of fact, why don't you sit down and listen up? Because you're not going to like what I have to say. Yeah. You know? And all you do is use your voice. So yeah, those are just some of the obstacles, and we're still, it's an ongoing cycle. Yes, especially when you're dealing with food insecurity, which is what I tend to deal with. But now, because of the work that I've done, we deal with everything. I mean, for example, today alone, I connected. I helped rehome a potbelly pig, a baby tiger, a monkey, and I think a llama. You know, because I'm connected with so many nonprofit organizations. You know, someone called me and was like, hey, someone's giving me, you know, so all I can do is connect. you know, and make that transition. And that's to what, but if I don't use my voice and I don't meet people and I don't network, you know, how is that going to happen?
Yeah.
You know, so it's always, every day is like a box of chocolates, girl, my life. I never really know what's going to be on the other side of the phone or on the other side of that door. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate your community work, because what it sounds like is you kind of, I don't want to say you fell into it, but it started out with seeing one thing, and then this one thing just got bigger and bigger and bigger the more you spent time in it. And so what I'm really hearing is more around the challenges you face, but just trying to help people, like simply just trying to help, trying to give food, trying to connect, trying to, you know, whatever the community needs. And you're getting a lot of pushback from being someone who volunteers their time, is not getting paid for the things that she does, and still yet is having people come and be like, you can't do that. Stop coming to ask this, you know, close your mouth. Like, oh my God, you're back again. And
and I did
do you feel like it's, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but do you feel like it's because you're a woman, or do you feel like they would treat most people like that?
In I would say the majority of the situations, I did feel it was because I was a woman, especially when the majority of my meetings were only men. You know, and I'm not saying that was always bad. I was not always surrounded by men like that. No. I was actually surrounded by men of God, and you know, and so really good mentors. Some of them are my mentors and my friends. But yeah, I did feel like that sometimes. That was the biggest thing, I think, for me, was feeling oh man, it irks me so much. It irks me so much that, why do I have to sit over there? Why can't I sit here? Why did I not get, not that I need credit, but recognition helps a lot. Why didn't I get recognition for doing all this, you know, at all? And again, I believe in purpose over position. So I never looked for it, but it did sting. And people saw, you know, and if I would feel bad, because I remember one of my friends telling me, girl, you need to stop doing this. Like, it's, you know, you're away from the kids. It's not bringing you any more joy, because it's hard. It gets draining. Like you said, like I asked myself that once, how is it possible that giving of your heart and just wanting to give is so hard? It's so hard, you know? So that was one of the very first challenges, was just trying to figure out, you know, and then I just stopped following the rules and I stopped listening to people. I'll be honest with you. I just really stopped. In the beginning, I'm learning. I don't know what to do. I don't want to make a misstep. You know, I was offered a position as director of Bridging the Gap, which is now the largest networking, a nonprofit networking group in San Antonio. You know, it's so many partners.
I think I saw some flyers for it.
Yes, they're amazing. We're number one. I say we're because I'm always a big advocate. I send a lot of people over there, you know, and so I'm still involved, you know, at some capacity with Bridging the Gap, because I've seen what comes from organizations like that. That organization, and being the director for a few years, opened my eyes to not only food insecurities, but housing, homelessness. You know, I've been under the bridges. I've done pretty much anything that I've been asked to do. You know, and so when I say that our work is just getting started, it is, and it's not going to go anywhere.
No, it's not.
No. And I've kind of paused the work I've been doing for about a year, because I had to put myself forward. You know, me and my family, I had to figure out my next step now that I was at this capacity. For me, it was the finances. I visited pantries all over San Antonio, all over Laredo, Texas. I visited, oh my gosh, the city is so amazing. Let me tell you, the things I've seen. I mean, I've seen full-on pantries that are run by veterans that are, you know, they give, you know, over 200, they feed 200 families a month. There's hubs everywhere. But I've also saw a lot of failed ones. Not, you know, and my question was, why? Why did it fail? Because I don't want to fail. I started my own nonprofit, United Community Pantries, but I wanted it to have a purpose and maintain a purpose, you know? It was always finances. You know, and there was some issues where, you know, some instances where, you know, okay, the board of directors, you know, just kind of just fizzled out and stuff. That happens, but majority is finances. So I wanted to figure out a way to continue to work on my purpose, and continue to help in a big way. And that's why I do what I do now with the fundraising.
Okay.
That we can get into later. But yeah, definitely a lot of challenges that I've overcome, and it's never ending. It's never ending.
It's not gonna end.
No, it's not. It's been going on for years. We just did it in a time, where it was emergent. Like, I jumped in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So now that I saw everybody, okay, things are better. People can go to stores and we're good. I can scale back a little bit. Yeah.
So my next question is around how you overcame them, but you kind of answered that in your first question. And what I heard was speaking up. Like you got angry, and that anger caused you the result was finding your voice and being able to be in spaces. And once you learn the ropes, you kind of dictate how that space ran of like, no, I'm not going to take anything less than what I need for these people because it's a non-negotiable. And so I think the beauty in what I hear is like you're unapologetic.
Yes.
I won't say that you weren't afraid because I think we all are still a little like cautious, maybe a little afraid. But what I also hear is that even if you had fear, you didn't let that stop you from your passion in helping people. And so what I want ladies to kind of take away from the overcoming part is, at least what I'm getting from your story is get to a point where you find your voice, whether it's you're angry and you found your voice, or you went through a traumatic situation and you found your voice. Whatever it is to get to that point, we as women have to stop being silent. We have to stop allowing other people, men, women, indifferent, tell us who we are and what we're supposed to be doing on this earth, because we are the only ones that know that. And what I really appreciate about you is you got no's and you got pushbacks. And she said, I don't care about your no and I don't care about your pushback. I am still going to help these families, and you're going to figure out how to help me do it. And 1,200, boxes of food show up for you to feed more families. And so I think we just have to, as women, get out of this place of fear of what other people expect us to do and be. And be who you are, or learn who you are, right? Because I didn't always know who I was. So I'm not going to sit up here and say I've always had the answers, because I haven't. But if you know who you are, walk in her. If you don't know who you are, find out who she is so you can walk in her, because it is a very freeing place. I heard you say earlier in your marriage how you felt caged. And you weren't really walking in your purpose, feeling caged. And I know that feeling. I also remember feeling caged, not just in my marriage, but even after my marriage, in my professional environment, I always felt caged. And like, we shouldn't have to live that way, because when you are free, girl, it's beautiful. It doesn't take the challenges away. So don't misunderstand me and thinking that you speaking up, you finding out who you are is going to make life easier, because it doesn't. But it does make you walking through life a little bit easier.
It does. It helps you sleep better at night. But it's not going to be easy.
No.
It's never going to be easy once you use your voice, because we're taught at a very young age to watch our P's and our Q's, watch your P's and your Q's and stuff. So I will say, yes, find your voice. Absolutely. But be careful how you translate that out. Work on it. Don't just say, you don't have to yell. Like I said, you don't have to show that anger. Know that you're angry inside, and pray that God give you the wisdom and the words to come out the way that they need to be said. If I would have gone up to the city council and everybody there and they're going to shut off the mic. They're going to kick me out. Right. But I went up there and I went assertive and I said, these are the statistics. This is what needs to be changed. So you need to learn and how to use that voice and perfect that instrument, because it's powerful.
It is.
Words matter.
It is very powerful.
And as women and as mothers, You know, our kids tend to listen to us. You're an educator, so you know, just like they listen to mom at home and their grandmother at home, they listen to the women. You know.
Yep.
Yes, I would think for the male students, you know, if they have a male teacher, they would kind of also resonate with them.
Different, yeah.
So we just have to be careful with our words, but know how to use them and when to use them.
Were there any specific strategies, resources, or support systems that helped you navigate through these challenges?
Strategies: don't die. Resources: Google. Google's your best friend.
You know what? I appreciate a good Google, YouTube. Like every time
Google doesn't lie, girl.
Google don't lie, and YouTube is your best friend. If you don't know how to do something, you don't know how to change your oil, girl, you better YouTube it. They'll teach you how to change your oil in your car.
Oh, yes. So what was the other one? You said
specific strategies, resources, or support systems as you are navigating through these challenges.
Okay, so let's recap. Don't die, Google. And support systems. I am very spoiled, Stephanie. And you've met some of my friends. I now surround myself with light.
Good.
Only light. So bad, and I've been told this, like I walk around in a bubble, and if I feel like and it's gonna break my bubble, I just like run into my little bubble. I bounce because my friends are so full of light. Every single one of my friends that I met, and I was in a city that didn't know anybody, you know, 6 years ago. So I mean, I had a handful of family here, but I didn't really talk to them. And I didn't have that. I had maybe less than 2 friends here that I had met. So I really didn't know anybody. So the people that surround me now are friends for life. They're amazing, good-hearted people. I would go to bat for any of them, including you. So, you know, I'm just so inspired. So when you talk about support systems, take the toxic out of your life.
Amen.
Even if they're family. And that's hard. That's hard. That is a hard lesson in life. I think one of the hardest lessons is to have to cut out toxic, you know, family members in whatever capacity. Doesn't mean you have to stop loving them. It doesn't mean you have to stop seeing them. It just means like the energy is not good, and I want to conserve my energy for the good. So I'm choosing to. So the fact that I'm here with my four kids, I'm in my little bubble, and a support system is just handpick your support system. You know, and who you're going to call, who you're going to, you know, who you're going to talk to for certain situations, you know, and go have coffee.
Yes.
You know,
cultivate those relationships.
Yes. And I always say to everybody, don't abuse. And the work that we do, and people will cling on to you. For example, in the work that I did, we would do distributions. We went from doing distributions to markets to all sorts of stuff for the community events, you know, movie nights. I mean, you name it. We did a lot of fun stuff. You know, you have those politicians that are running for office and you never see them. You don't know who they are, but all of a sudden they're there, you know.
Sounds also familiar.
I didn't know that. But, you know, I didn't know that they did that because I don't even think I voted. You know, I mean, I would vote here and there, but, you know, I wasn't educated, you know, enough. So I learned early on how people can attach themselves for their benefit.
Correct.
They kind of say, oh, she's going places. Let me just kind of cling on. Maybe come in a couple of pictures with her, and then later on I'll go, you know, resurface those pictures, you know, and stuff like that. And that was ugly. Those are the ugly parts of doing the work that I do. One of the ugliest parts. I hate it. It still happens, but I've gotten better at filtering out, you know, and weeding out
the support system.
Yes.
Good.
So definitely spoil yourself with amazing support system and go have coffee or drinks, whatever you like.
Yeah. Or depending on what the day is, you know.
Yeah. I always tell everybody my day is running on coffee and Jesus. So if you get a good friend to come on with you and board with you, then you're golden.
Yes. I talk about support systems in my other podcast, In Her Evolution, and I give like tips on how to build a support system. And one of the things that I say is you have to teach your support system how to support you. Because I think sometimes when we surround ourselves with people, we make an assumption that you know how to support me. And so you may support me the best way that you know how, but I may not feel supported because it's not the way that I need to be supported. So being able to communicate that to the people around you. And I didn't hear you say that, but I've seen your group of people and they were very intentional about how they were in your life. So I know at some point that happened.
Yes.
Maybe even if it was unconscious, but those people are so intentional in your life in like a certain type of way for you.
Yes.
And you for them, like it oozes out of them. And even like talking with them at your birthday party, like they love you so much.
Yeah.
And they had such amazing and great things to say about you. And some of your friendships have been like really long lived. And making those connections and having those people around you, I didn't realize how important that was until this last trauma. And like I'm now starting to build my support system. But you're right, like I am now at a point where I can only be around positive people. So like if you are a negative Nancy, you can only be in my space if I'm supporting you through your trauma. So like if you are going through something and you have reached out to me and I'm one of your support systems, then that's how you can stay around me. If you are not positive. If you're going through, you know, like you need my support, you need my help. But other than that, like I'm with you. Like life is too short / long, because life is long, to be surrounded by people who just don't support you and don't genuinely love you. And
they're either energy vampires, they're there for the wrong reasons. And oftentimes your own group will tell you. You know, and that's when you know they're keepers, you know. So they'll even tell you yourself, hey, you know what, I don't know about this. You have to start listening to your people, tell
them again, because what I did not do is I did not listen to my people, because my people were telling me for a long time, something's not up with these people and something's not right with this person. And they would say it, but they couldn't put their finger on it. Like they didn't know what it was. They just knew that something just didn't feel right. And I just told them, look, it's just work, y'all. Like it is what it is. We all have people we don't like. Like you just got to bear through it. And they were trying to warn me. And I just kept telling them, guys, it's nothing. Guys, it's nothing. It's just a part of life. And come to find out, they were right.
Yeah. It happened to me too in the very beginning. Someone attached themselves to me. I had left, right, Jiminy Crickets everywhere telling me, hey, girl, I don't know. And I'd be like, no, it's fine. We're all just trying. We're here just to, you know, help and she, you know, she's really this and that. And sure enough, you know, about a month, not even 2 months later, I get burned, you know, which I was like, that really hurt. You know, you get too many more of those burns, you know, it can break you.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost broke me when I went through a very similar situation like you went through, very public. It was very public and it was very traumatizing for me, you know, because to overcome that was the biggest thing. Once I overcame that, I was like, you know what? This is not for me. This is for the community. So you know what? I'll take the jabs. Go ahead. Come at me. Because what are you going to do? Nothing. You know what I mean? You're not hurting me. And that's what these people don't see, is that they are not hurting us.
No,
they're hurting the community.
They're hurting the community. Right.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. And if you want to talk, I'll go a little bit into it. And just so you have an idea of what I'm talking about and how it relates to and why it resonates. Because I don't think we've ever spoken about this. While I was doing the work that I was doing, you know, you're too busy working. You don't care about awards, accolades, recognition,
Correct.
None of that stuff.
Correct.
I just want to get home back to my kids. Why am I going to cry? I don't know why I'm going to cry. I just want to get back home to my kids. You know, I remember, you know why? Because I remember those days.
Yeah.
These were long days, Stephanie, and I couldn't take my kids with me all the time because we were in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And I knew they were safe at home and I was risking myself, but I was okay doing that. And they knew why. Long story short, had you know, an organization come and out, you know, outside my house one night, you know, with their cameras going live, and they give me the Neighborhood Hero Award, which is a great. I was honored. You know, my kids were there. They were like, "What's going on here?" It was very nice. Those same people that gave me that award live. Oh yeah, she's doing great. As a matter of fact, it says W Angel Award or something like that. It was a pretty plaque with the San Antonio skyline. Very nice. Those same people, because I went against what they believed regarding the homeless community, the homeless people, which I don't like to say homeless, I like to say displaced neighbors. Yeah. That's the term I like to use. I went against what they thought about it. They vanished me completely. They took me off the neighborhood page that I had been serving for almost a year. Servicing. That's where everybody would know where our food distributions were, if people were giving clothes away. We did a lot. And just like that, it was taken away. Just because I did not agree with them on a policy like this. Me, and I'm not the only one. It was a group of us that spoke out. So then the community was like, well, where's Lupita? Where's Lupita? And I would see it because they vanished me, but I still saw. They were advocating for me. They never added me back. They never did anything. It ended up being like a political thing and, and all this stuff. And that's when I realized, okay. And that almost broke me. Because it showed me that as much work and time that I had put in and all that time that I left my kids, it didn't matter. It like this.
I feel
it was gone. Yes, it was gone in a second. Yeah. And I had friends telling me, you need to fight. It's not worth it. For me, the fight's not worth it because there's more to be done. You know what I mean? There's way more. And so I had to make a hard decision. Do I continue to do the work that I'm doing, or do I just leave it here and I'm fine? Because at the time I was fine. I could walk away with a conscience saying I helped enough people in a pandemic that if I walk away today and my judge sees me later, he's going to say, come on by. You know what I mean? Pass on by. I was fine. But I wasn't built that way. So immediately I was like, nope, snap out of it, And so I had also my friends telling me, you know what? And they would talk about their experiences and what they went through. Gave me the courage to keep going. So, So I've been through it, girl.
Yeah. I resonate. In the blink of an eye, something that you've given so much.
Heart, soul, there you go.
Literally so much. You can't even list or contain the things that it takes to build the things that you do. But to have someone come and snatch it from you,
it's the worst.
Yeah, it's soul snatching.
It is soul snatching. Yes. Write that down.
Yeah, it's soul snatching.
Snatching.
And I also had that moment when I was like, I think I'm done with education. I think I'm done. I don't think I can deal with these people anymore because nobody works for kids. Everyone works for themselves or they work for other adults. And I'm like, in education, you have to work for kids. Like you have to work for kids. If you don't work for kids, why do you work?
I saw that. I had three friends during the pandemic that quit the teaching profession. 3 of them quit during the pandemic and everything. Coming back, they just didn't want to go back. And so the education system needs you, Stephanie. They need you. They need people like you. You need people like you.
Again, I'm built like you.
So, well, I was going to say people like
you. I had my moment, but I'm back.
Yes. I'm
back.
Why do you think I'm here? I'm so proud. I mean, you make me so proud because you build schools. You need to build schools because you know what's on the forefront of this. I pulled my children out of school, and I was the president of the PTA for many years and involved in, since my son, he's 21, since he was in kinder, a president of this and that, and always involved with my kids and with the schools. My mom was a teacher for almost 40 years. I'm surrounded by teachers. Everybody thought I was going to be a teacher. I worked for the school districts for years, teaching dance and communities and schools, all this stuff. And I didn't send them back because I saw what the TEA didn't do for our teachers. what they didn't do for our students.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, I was like, why am I even, there's a lot of good programs out there. There's a lot of good. So they never went back. And I put their education in my hands.
That's right.
So, and that's what I did. I know it's not for everybody, but I saw it.
Yeah.
So when I say that the school needs you, they need you. And I'm a big fan of charter schools. I think it's a second obviously a second choice for kids.
Definitely an option.
Yes,
100%.
They're amazing and they're popular. Here
and they're doing great work. They're not perfect, but name a person on the face of this earth that is perfect. Nobody. So like, find a school that works for you and your kids, or if you have the option to homeschool, I 100% agree with that, and I support that as well, because most people who know my story know I started out homeschooling because I didn't trust the education system. So yeah, that's my early story. When the boys were younger, I homeschooled.
I'm waiting for your book. I'll read it in the book. Just let me know what chapter that's on.
I wanted to be a part of the solution. And the only way that you can be a part of a solution is being a part of the problem. Not being a part of a problem, but like being surrounded by the problem, so you can figure out what the root is, so that you can help and you support. But this is a whole other conversation, a whole other story, because when you get into education, it's not that easy.
Lupita will be back for part 2, you all. Part 2.
What lessons have you learned from your experiences that you can teach us about?
Other than try not to kill somebody or yourself doing it, try not to end up in jail or on the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, try not to end up there.
So many lessons, girl, but I think the most powerful lesson that I've learned, and I tell this to everybody, and I sound like a broken record, is just remember that it is always purpose over position. You want to know? I'm going to stick to that one. I'm going to say, because I can name like so many.
Write it down.
No, purpose over position. And I love that, and I sound like a broken record when I say it, but it was spoken to me a while back, and it resonated with me, and I kind of take it with everything, because the downfall that I've seen with nonprofits or work or business, even businesses, people forget their purpose. Even ventures like this, if you here you go.
Oh, thank you.
If you you're doing a podcast, right? Let's say you get sponsored, money starts coming in, it gets super popular. Oh, you have a new studio, you have all these things, right? Great. People get lost in the light
and forgetting why you started the podcast in the first place.
And it becomes something that is not genuine to you, that you can take it to the bank. I mean, anywhere, with your job, with your work, never forget your purpose.
Purpose over position.
Yeah, because your purpose is what fills you. What drives you. It's what re-energizes your battery.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people that have so many purposes. I want this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I always tell them, quiet your mind. Look at everything that's in front of you. And the one that really resonates with you, fills you up from head to toe, puts a smile on your face.
Yeah.
That's your purpose. So never get lost in what that becomes. Bring yourself down. A friend of mine told me that she started seeing me with pictures with the congressman and pictures with here and that and getting this award and being invited here and there and doing all these things. I got lost. It took a friend to tell me, hey, I love what you're doing, Lupita, but I think you're drinking way too much Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? And I listen. I talk a lot, but I do listen. And I try to learn. And so it didn't sit well with me. So I went through my Facebook for the past year. I went back a year of my life. And I was like, you know what? She's right. So I deleted everything.
Oh, wow.
A lot of things. I mean, I left some fun stuff up, but I deleted what I thought was a little bit too presumptuous. It became to where we would help people without taking photos and stuff like that. Now I see a lot of people giving a homeless person an apple and taking like a selfie, and it's not about
it. No, it's not.
It's not about that, and so so it happened to me where I veered, but it took my support system, a mentor. Get yourself some good mentors too. We all need them, because just like you're a mentor, we need mentors.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big advocate for that. Reach up, reach down, and reach sideways. So these are like your colleagues or your collaborators that you work alongside with, and then you have someone that mentors you and you mentor someone else. Firm advocate in that.
Right. So yeah, and it took someone like that just to tell me, and I realized, and I said, okay, you know what, you're right. And I didn't only delete a lot of the stuff that I had, I took a step back. I took a step back and I just refocused. And when I came back, you didn't really hear much of what I was doing. Even now, if you go to my Facebook, you don't see. Every day I do end of acts of kindness. We're always doing something. I don't announce anything anymore of what I do. Very rare. I haven't even announced about my company. You know, have you seen it in a big way? No, I haven't launched yet, because slow and steady, you know, I don't want to get, you know, all, you know, slow and steady. Stay focused.
Wrapped up and not staying focused on your purpose. Yeah.
So stay focused on your purpose.
So purpose over position. I hope that you wrote it down, and I hope you heard what she said. If you have a lot of purposes, try to narrow it down. And if you don't know what your purpose is, ladies, we have to slow down. Like, we have to take a moment to sit in silence or sit by ourselves or just have some quiet me time. So if that means you need to go take a bath and close the door and lock all the kids out and lock your husband out or lock your partner out, take a bubble bath and figure out what your purpose is, or take really long showers, like, find something to be able to get away to yourself to find out what that purpose is. It really, really, really will propel your life. Like, once you know what you're on this earth to do, I'm telling you from experience, and so is Lupita, like, knowing my purpose and knowing what I'm here for, even through trauma, you can heal from the trauma and still be driven by your passion to continue, even after a trauma, when you feel like, you know what, I'm done with that purpose right now. I do not want to have to deal with that purpose. Like, that's just the hurt speaking, because once you start to heal, then you're like, no, actually, I really still love doing that, and I don't want to walk away from that at all whatsoever. So you have to find time.
My mother would always say, put your butterflies in order. You know, you get butterflies in your stomach. Put them in order. And that's what she would talk about, all the things that need to be done, you know. And you'll definitely find your purpose. And you might not find it right away. It might take you a while, but you will. You know, so just stick to it. Always in the forefront.
Yeah. Okay, no questions. How has overcoming these challenges impacted your life and your personal growth?
Well, I'm constantly growing. It's impacted me. The lessons that I've learned have impacted me. It's just they've turned me into a woman, a confident, resilient, you know, unapologetic, into a woman. Because I'm a woman, but I never felt like a woman. And just so you know a little bit about my background, Lupita has not had like a cookie cutter life, like the perfect life. You're talking to a woman that dealt with child abuse, that was in the system, you know, in foster care. I've dealt with adoption. I was adopted. Domestic violence, very heavy domestic violence. Married to an alcoholic. You know, I mean, depression, anxiety, you know, stemmed from all these childhood drama. I mean, not drama, childhood trauma.
Traumas, yeah.
You know, so when I speak and I sit here, I've been through it, Stephanie. It just doesn't, I don't show it, you know, because I don't know. I guess that's just the way that I was built. I don't know where I get that from. I like to say that it comes from my mom, because my mom's very strong, you know, and so I saw her and how strong she was and the way we were brought up, you know, life. But yeah, I already forgot the question. What was the question? My God, I veered off. Oh, how it's taught me.
Yeah. Well, you actually answered it in your first statement. You said it made you a woman, and I'm mesmerized by that, and like in the confidence. Like, I don't know that you all can see it, but like as I watched you, it was the confidence that you spoke with and like the freedom that you spoke with. It made me a woman, like just unapologetically. Like I don't need to add any more words to this. Like it just made me a woman.
I really did. I really did.
Yeah,
and I can't say that the way I was raised and the situations I've been in, those made me a woman, because they didn't. If anything, I think they broke me down even more, you know, and I just kind of dealt with it till I got to the point where, and everybody reaches their tipping point.
Tipping point. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that's the best way I could describe it.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful. Talk to me about your healing and transformation through your journey.
My healing. The healing is interesting because I think I continue to heal, you know, throughout my journey. So if I talk about the healing and the process, I mean, I can't really, I wish I could pinpoint one situation, but honestly, all wounds healed differently.
I like that. Okay.
You know, so for me, you know, I still have a lot of work to be done, you know, and I feel like, how do I get through it? I don't know. I'm looking for some clarity here with that question, because I want to be very cautious of what I say, but I've learned to come to terms with peaceful, you know, in a peaceful way, and not angry. You can't hold on. You really can't hold on to that anger, you know, because I think, well, I was abused when I was little, when I was a baby. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything. I was a baby. That can make me mad, angry, and I can walk around with that anger. Maybe I have a little bit throughout my life, but it serves no purpose to be angry. I mean, it doesn't, you know. Even with these people that put me through hell and back, when all I was trying to do was help the community. You know, vicious lies spread about me in a very public way. You know, a whole gang against me, you know, of community leaders. That's very intimidating. You know, all this stuff. I could have held on, and then nobody would have gotten anything. You know, I wouldn't have been able to do anything for the people that I've helped. So when you talk about healing, it's a process. You know, just like a wound, you know. So
it takes time to heal. And I love that you said it's a process. It takes time, because even if we cut ourselves and we have the initial wound and it hurts, right? And it takes a few days before maybe the pain subsides and it starts to scab over and it starts to heal. But then what do we always have after the fact?
Right.
The scar.
Right.
The scar is always there to remind us of that pain. And so the pain may not be as visceral and as real as we go through the healing process, but the scar is still there to remind us that we were harmed in this way.
Yes, and I love that you said that, because that's what I meant by the healing never ends. You know what I mean, for me. And I think that I purposely leave my wounds a little bit open up here. I don't completely cut them out. Okay, it already happened. No, because I'm also a mentor now. So I grab from there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, no, you know what? You always want to just, I don't know, that's just me. I don't know, that's how I deal with things. I know it maybe not makes sense. But somebody would say, no, close the chapter, heal, forgive, move on.
No, I disagree, because that's the whole purpose of me interviewing different women, because there's going to be different women that watch that resonate with different women. There might be a woman that comes on and says, oh no, I had to close the book. I had to keep it moving. I had to throw the book in the fire. I had to do all kinds of stuff. And then there's a woman like you who says, you know what? I keep them just scabbed over so that I never forget, so that I can always be ready to teach someone else. And there's no right or wrong to healing. Like, I can't tell you how to heal. You can't tell me how to heal. Like, and so I think the way that you're healing is beautiful. And I think that the way that we all heal is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I can actually say, women, that you ever stop, like you said, you ever stop healing. Like, I think it's just a perpetual process.
Mm-hmm.
And, just even for women who've lost children, or their partners have died, or family members have died,
it never goes away.
Then that pain never goes completely away.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just learn how to heal through time, because I'm a firm believer that time heals all wounds. But the scar is still there, and how you felt is still there, but you've learned how to make it a part of who you are, whether it's built you up. And then there's some women where it allows them to tear them down. And we don't want you to go to the tear down place. We want you to go to the build up place, but wounds can take you there as well.
Yeah. I'll use a little analogy. I've been single for almost 7 years, about 6.5 years. And I recently am in a new relationship I'm super excited about, because he's amazing and supportive, and everything that I've been asking God for the past 6
girl.
Yes, he's amazing. So, but I was embarrassed because I've had 4 kids. I used to be a dancer, but I've gained weight, having 4 kids. My last boys were back to back. I was just embarrassed for certain things. And one of them is here, and I have, like, obviously stretch marks from my birth, my kids, my pregnancies, all that stuff. And I remember he said that I looked beautiful, without him. He just talked about the scars. You know what I mean? And now I look at my scars in my mirror, which I never did, or on myself.
Talk about it.
No, like, cover it up. Like, where's the concealer? Where's the whatever, And now I look at them differently, and we go back to, the scabs and the scars. Like, we need those.
Yep.
We need the reminder there. Yeah, I gave birth to 4 kids, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, or embarrassed about. You know what I mean? So you have to embrace those imperfections, embrace those scars. There's ways that you can heal without hate.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? And so you want to heal without hate. Replace that word with peaceful. And I
write that down. Heal without hate.
Yes. And I know what you're going through right now is really heavy, and you're probably praying a lot, because I was in there. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I still can't. But so that just a lot of prayer, a lot of faith, but heal without hate.
So my last question is all about our series, like Stories of Resilience. How would you define resilience, and what nuggets would you leave with the women today about resilience?
Well, I think we can recap a little bit about what we spoke about today, and some of my answers. How do I define resilience? I'm looking at her right now. And when in the morning, when I look in the mirror, that's how I define resilience. Because I honestly believe that all women are resilient. I mean, everybody, but we're talking about women here.
Yes, we are. We're talking about women.
So if you want the definition of resilience, wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and take a really good look.
Beautiful.
Really good look. We look at ourselves for other things, our makeup and, taking selfies and stuff like that, but really look at yourself and see your life, see where you've been, where you are, and where you want to be, and you're going to see resilience, because it's overcoming any obstacles that come in your way. I mean, we are, jumping those hurdles, girl, and they get higher and higher. You would think they get smaller and smaller. But they get higher and higher, and the higher they get, the worse we fumble.
Just gets better.
But isn't it weird that the higher they get and the worse we fumble, the faster we get up? That first one, though,
is weird. You're right. It is weird. Like, you do get up faster.
Yeah, you get up faster. That first one is like, oh, just need here 5 more minutes. I think I broke my ankle. I can't go to work today.
I know.
And now it's like, okay, get up, dust it off. Okay, who are we meeting? Where are we going? What's today?
Yep.
What
time is it?
What time is it? So, so that's how I define resilience, and how I would just. And you have to have humor. I'm all about the humor.
Yes.
Don't lose your humor, my friends.
Please don't. Oh,
no.
It's so helpful. Oh, it's so healing. Like, laughter is healing.
Yes.
And you should find ways to infuse laughter in your life. And it doesn't have to be traditional, right? Like, I think you naturally find like funny things to say at the right time. And then we all erupt in laughter. And then sometimes if you don't have a friend that's funny, go watch a funny movie, go watch stand-up comedy, watch, comedy on Netflix. Find a way to infuse laughter and joy into your life. Because life is just too long and too short.
Right, exactly.
For us to live in the negative.
Yeah, so that's what I would do. I would just, again, use your voice, learn how to use your voice. I'll say use your voice, but learn how to use your voice. Always remember purpose over position, and have fun with it. And don't take it too seriously. There's so many serious things that go on in life. I think that you need to just learn and enjoy the music and dance. I'm always dancing, always in the car, in the house, cleaning. I love dancing. I love music. Yes. So, and if you can get that partner to dance with you, you find that special one that likes to dance with you, or get your kids. My kids always know they're in the middle of school, and I'll just say, come here, and we'll just do salsa, in the kitchen. That's also important. It's just to have a good chuckle and a good time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, just find your purpose. That's going to fill you up, is your purpose. Yeah. I love that I was able to find, now with what I do in my profession, a way to help communities and schools and organizations in a big way, with the money. So yeah, found my purpose, and I'm on that freight train. So hop on board or get off.
That part. Yeah. That's real life. Get on board with a positive attitude, or you can get off. Yeah. We don't care.
No.
Thank you so much for joining us for our episode with Lupita today. I hope that you learned something. I had my notebook. I wrote down a few nuggets, and I hope you did too. Join me next Monday, and I will be speaking to, look at me forgetting who I'm speaking to next week. Next week, I think is, Justina Gonzalez is next week.
Yay!
I love you, Justina.
Make sure you wear that red lipstick, girl. Oh my gosh, next week we're going to be tuned in next week because Justina is good, girl.